Sports talk doesn't stop on Friday.
What? You give me one good reason.
It's Saturday!
And these guys have a lot to say.
Let me talk to you.
This is 4's Company.
Yada, yada, yada.
Brought to you by LPL Financial Nashville and Patrick Conger, financial planning for tomorrow, so that you can enjoy today with Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, and Connor Newt.
Yeah.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Game, Jake Lyman, along with Nick Frazier and Jake Wallman with you this morning. No Connor Newt currently. We will get some Connor Newt for Newt's notes later on in the show. Should be a fun one today. We've got our reaction to the first two games of the NFL season over the last couple of nights. We will preview the Titans opener in Chicago now tomorrow. Wow, tomorrow. About 24 hours away. And also a special guest coming up at 10 a.m. We will have Vanderbilt soccer head coach Darren Ambrose on the line. His team off to an undefeated start so far this year. And they have senior day against MTSU tomorrow night. So a lot to get to with Coach Ambrose. Should be a fun show.
It should be. Hey, how fitting. MTSU alum, Vandy guy over here. It'd be a 1-2 punch.
I know. And Vanderbilt plays Alcorn State tonight. That is a 5 o'clock pregame here on the Game, 6:30 kickoff. So excited for that. I might touch on that in my headlines here. I also have our question of the day today. It's on me this week.
Okay.
We'll get to that coming up at the end of this segment. But first of all, do you guys have any headlines this morning as we start the weekend?
I'll let our producer go ahead. Go ahead, Jake.
Nick, that's very kind of you. Kindness matters on this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
My headline is the quarterback situation in Green Bay with Malik Willis, the former Titan. He could start next week. I don't know. I assume Green Bay is going to make a transaction later this week. And I think a name to watch in that situation is Ryan Tannehill.
I think you're right. I tweeted about that last night. I said,
Really?
I said Malik Willis will soon be backing up Ryan Tannehill again. Time is a flat circle.
That 1,000-yard stare that he's going to have when Ryan Tannehill walks into the quarterback room in Green Bay.
Yeah, that's I don't know how that happened. Like, who would have thought Malik Willis would even be on the Packers at the end of this year? And then Jordan Love, it doesn't look good. Like, if you've seen the close-up replay, there's a pop of some sort. I'm sure we'll get MRI updates later on today. But Ryan Tannehill would be the logical move for the Packers, who are a team that feel like they can still compete if they have a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm a little hesitant about the Tannehill talks to Green Bay. One, because obviously, yes, he's a system quarterback. But two, I don't know if he fits that offense. I really don't know. I know that's probably a bold and odd take to say, but I don't know if he really fits that Green Bay offense.
Yeah, I guess he did. They ran the LaFleur style offense even after Matt left because they did not overlap. Matt LaFleur left for Green Bay the offseason before Tannehill came in, but they still ran that type of offense with Arthur Smith. So there's probably a little bit of familiarity there, even if it's not quite as much as the Packers might hope.
Yeah, and like the reason why I'm a little hesitant about it too is because the way Josh Jacobs, like if whatever he did last night against Philly is what we're going to see for the rest of the season, which I highly doubt, but that Philly defensive line is pretty solid. That's what I'd worry about because Tannehill kind of relies on that play action game. And if you don't have a run game to rely on to open up the play action, then you're just kind of a one-trick pony.
Jacobs did come on towards the end of the game yesterday, but I think he had like 8 carries for 6 yards in the first half or something like that. So
it was tough.
Packers fans, we feel for you. Robbie Stanley, our resident Packers fan, we feel for you if your quarterback room ends up being Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. Nick Frazier, what is your headline this morning?
My headline, it was tough. I was picking between two. I was thinking about going baseball, but I'm going to go back to football. The Tennessee Vols, I think today might be my headline of the weekend. I think this team might be winning today by, as our producer is going crazy behind the glass silently, I think they might win by 20 points today. I'm not sold on Grayson McCall as the quarterback for NC State. Had a rough start last week. Last season, he kind of had the same situation. I think he threw like 3 interceptions in his week 1 last year in Coastal Carolina. So I'm not high on just Grayson McCall in general.
Yeah, and the game, it's in Charlotte, so kind of close to both fan bases, but Tennessee travels way better than NC State does. I think there's going to be a lot of orange in that stadium. You hope that there's no letdown after the big blowout last week against Chattanooga, and maybe NC State, after a slow start last week, does improve. But we'll pick this game later. But Tennessee, they have to win this game if they want to be a playoff contender. But I would feel pretty good if you're a Vols fan heading into this one.
Yeah, and Nico Iamaleava also said before the season, I feel pretty confident that I said that right, but
Iamaleava.
Yeah, Iamaleava.
There we go.
How about that? Earlier this year before the season, he mentioned that he plays a lot better on road games. Like that, he encourages road games. So I'm ready to see his test on the road today.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we've mentioned when previewing the Vols season was, Nico looked good in the bowl game. Can he do it in a hostile environment? This won't be quite as hostile.
Yeah.
I believe Oklahoma is probably the first true road game for the Vols this year.
They are. And I believe that's Oklahoma's first SEC game
this year, too. Is that right, Jake Wallman?
That is correct.
Yeah, Oklahoma going to Norman, Josh Heupel's return. That is going to be an intriguing game because Oklahoma, I feel like, is a team that Tennessee should beat, but it's in a hostile environment. A lot of emotion going into that game. That will be one to keep an eye on in a couple of weeks here.
A lot of vitriol in that game.
Yes. I'm sure that Josh Heupel, I'm sure his team will be ready to play for him in that one. My headline will go over to Vanderbilt today, playing Alcorn State, and this is more of a call to action. If you are a Vanderbilt fan listening right now, get to First Bank Stadium. I went to Virginia Tech. All my family and friends were in town, and they were miserable last week. But guess who made them miserable? Clark Lee and that team. They came out and made a statement last week. I'm calling to action all of these Vanderbilt fans. I don't think the tickets are that expensive.
No.
Get over there and show this team that they've got your support. The students did great last week. I guess it was the first time in a long, long time that they had to stop letting students in.
I saw that.
And now Vanderbilt, they sent out an email and said that this won't happen again. If there are more students than can fit in the student section, they'll put them somewhere else. So good news there. But if you're a family and you have Vanderbilt connections and you want something to do on your Saturday night, it's going to be a fun game. Diego Pavia's electric to watch. The defense has some great playmakers in CJ Taylor and Langston Patterson. Go out and watch this game. Go give the Commodores a home environment tonight.
Yeah.
I think it would be super fun. Should be a game that Vandy wins by multiple touchdowns against an FCS team. Go out and support Clark Lee. They deserve it after a win last week.
I love it. Bring the fun, Jake.
I hate it for Vanderbilt because those guys playing in the SEC, playing in this town where it's such a tourist destination, where all of these fan bases, whether it's Kentucky or Florida or Texas A&M, their fan base says, oh, well, I can go spend 2 nights on Broadway and go see my team play.
Yeah.
So they don't get the rockin' home environment. And I'm not saying for Alcorn State it's going to be packed and rowdy, but go give them a home atmosphere, cheering them on against the what is the Alcorn State mascot?
I will research
Braves?
that. I believe
yes,
they
they're
are the Braves.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
Good
trying
job,
to think.
Nick Frazier.
I remember I watched the Steve McNair documentary,
Yeah.
and I remember seeing it, and I blanked on it. But go give the Commodores a home environment tonight. I think they deserve it after the win they had last week. No matter how much my inner Hokie didn't like it, being around the Vanderbilt athletic department, I know how much that win meant to a lot of people over there. And I think the fan base should back them up today.
Yeah, and I think they should just ride high on the hog right now. They'll let the momentum take them into the following week after this week 2. I mean, this Vanderbilt team, and I'll ask you about this later about Diego Pavia, but this Vanderbilt team, like you're saying, Jake, they're hot right now.
Yeah.
After a big week 1 win, they could go out and be 3-0, beat Alcorn State this week.
And Georgia State at Turner Field next week.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a tough game, but they pull out of conference win 3-0. I mean, I would be through the roof if I'm a Vandy fan.
It's possible. And then I think Missouri is next after that. So could be a chance to make a statement. Missouri is very good, but an opportunity for Clark Lee and company in a couple of weeks. You hope there's no letdown today against Alcorn State, because that was an emotional win for those guys. almost blew a lead, then almost won it in regulation, missed the field goal, had to win it in overtime. A lot of emotion from last week. Let's hope that they can focus in, get a win today against Alcorn State. And again, I'm calling to action. If you are a Vanderbilt fan, even if you're not a Vanderbilt fan and you want something to do on your Saturday night, get out to First Bank Stadium.
Come say hey to Jake Lyman. He'll probably sign a few autographs.
Yes, I'll be up there in the radio booth. Pregame coverage at 5 and kickoff at 6:30. You can tune in around, I think, like 5:20. You'll hear my Vandy sports update for the week as we look around the rest of the Vanderbilt sports, including soccer. And I mentioned Vanderbilt head coach of the soccer team, Darren Ambrose, is going to join us at 10 a.m. Excited for that as they prepare for senior night against MTSU tomorrow night. Again, we're going to talk a lot of NFL today. We're going to talk Titans in the second hour as they prepare for week 1 against Chicago. Tomorrow, we'll talk the first 2 NFL games in the next segment, but I'll get to our question of the day here before we take a break. If you want to chime in, you can text or call 615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. My question is, what is your favorite Titans season opener of all time as we prepare for another one tomorrow? There's a few good options in the last 10 years or so. The last couple have not been quite as good. Saints last year was obviously a game the Titans felt like they should have won and gave it away. Same with the Giants the year before that. But a couple of fun openers. What's your favorite Titans season opener of all time? And this could honestly go back to the first ever season opener. I believe Bengals.
That's correct.
Sounds about right.
35-34.
Yes. So if you have a season opener that really stands out to you for the Titans, we want to hear from you. 615-737-1025. We will give our answers. Usually we do it at the top of the 10 o'clock hour. We'll do it at 9:30 today with Darren Ambrose joining us. So fun show ahead. We are just underway. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Can this young quarterback be Patrick Mahomes? Sports.
They need to identify somebody at edge rusher.
Live
How deep in their bag can they go in regards to their passing game?
here.
Just be noticed that
4's Company, Saturday mornings, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman with you. No Connor Newt currently, but you know he can't miss Newt's notes.
He will bring the boom.
Yes,
He
he will.
looms.
He will bring the boom. We will acknowledge Connor Newt at 9:45 as he is heading down to Oxford, I believe, for the Ole Miss MTSU game.
Is that so?
I think that is where he is this weekend. So excited for him. We'll keep an eye on that game. And you can listen on 93.3 Totally Hits, Totally Nashville with Chip Walters and Joe Dubin. Before we get back into our question of the day, and again, I want to reiterate, we're asking, what's your favorite Titans season opener of all time? And we will get to those in the next segment. But first, we've had two great NFL games over the past 2 days to start off the season. Really, I said this with TD last night, couldn't have asked for much more from the opener. Literally that much, and that's great radio. A toenail kept the Ravens from going for two to win that game. Isaiah Likely just on the back chalk line. And then last night, back and forth game between the Packers and the Eagles. Obviously not the way anyone would have liked for it to end, with Jordan Love getting hurt on the second to last play of the game. Malik Willis couldn't get the pass off for a possible Hail Mary. But all in all, two very entertaining games. Hopefully means for a really fun NFL season.
I hope so. I mean, every time we see a primetime game, especially last season, it was like, oh, who can score the least amount of points? 10-7, 17-10. I'm like, all right, are we going to see touchdowns? Like, that's why I feel like everybody loves college football, is because teams score, So, I mean, now you're seeing this new era of NFL football where it's quarterback led and all these wide receivers are so versatile. I mean, Xavier Worthy, a explosive player.
I mean, fast.
He was clocked at what, 18, 21 miles an hour, something like that?
I mean, he caught that like little pitch back, turned the corner, and no one was touching it.
No. Great blocking, by the way, for Kansas City. That was a phenomenal job. I mean, they just dropped that jet sweep toss right into the right side, and he's open to the races.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the NFL, they let Patrick Mahomes get Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
The Bills.
The Bills.
Let Patrick Mahomes get Xavier Worthy.
It's
But you know what? In the Bills' sake, if they think Keon Coleman's the man, I mean, then they didn't really lose out on a draft pick there.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, Xavier Worthy, there's been so many, like, for every Tyreek Hill, there's a John Ross of the guy who just runs a super fast 40, but can't actually play the position. But if you watch Xavier Worthy at Texas, I feel like you knew that he was more than just a fast 40 time.
Right. You got to look at him more as not your gadget guy in Kansas City. Like, he can actually catch the football, whereas they've been using McCole Hardman the last year and a half as their gadget guy. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Andy Reid and his offense, everybody's a gadget guy. Like, Isaiah Pacheco can catch the ball out of the backfield. You can look at other guys besides McCole Hardman. I mean, now you have Xavier Worthy, and can't forget about Travis Kelce. I mean, even this past Thursday, they used Noah Gray in a more, I guess, stronger role in that offense. I mean, there was a lot of seam routes up the middle. I think there was like 2, maybe 3 seam routes with Noah Gray.
Yeah.
And I mean, it opened up the game for Mahomes, not only just in the passing game, but the run game as well.
Not a ton of Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Not a ton of Mark Andrews on the other side, which surprised me, but they found like the backup tight ends honestly kind of made more of an impact than the starters did.
Yeah. And I guess it's a growing pain or a growing period with Derrick Henry now being in Baltimore. Maybe John Harbaugh is now getting the understanding of, oh, this is what the Titans have been struggling with the last couple of seasons. You got to give Derrick Henry a certain amount of touches to get him going. But, everybody has already mentioned this past week, like, they're just having Derrick Henry for the playoffs in this regard. Like, it's not for the regular season. But at the same time, you would like to get some chemistry, at least a little buildup of chemistry, that is, for the regular season with Derrick Henry. And also, you got to look at it this way as well. You can't rely on Derrick Henry's run game the whole season as well. Like, you got to find a happy medium. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry, as we know as Titans fans, it's harder when you fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to establish him early. They got him going on that first drive, but once they went down, what was it, like 20-10 at one point, it was tough for them to really get Derrick Henry involved. And Justice Hill got a lot of snaps and a lot of touches. Interested to see how that works out, because Jared made a good point yesterday that, Lamar Jackson's biggest issue is playing from behind
Mm-hmm.
and trying to sling it all around the yard and come back. Derrick Henry doesn't really help him there.
Mm-mm. And that's why I think they need to establish the run game like immediately in that, and just in games in general. Like, I feel like you have to give Derrick Henry the bell cow amount of numbers of snaps in the first half. That's what I have to look at for Derrick, is that you get him about 15, 20 carries for the most part in a total game, but you have majority of those come in the first half. Because if you have majority of those come in the first half, he's warm, he's ready to go. And then when you need him to really, I guess, put the nail in the coffin in the second half, he's ready to go. Like, and that's the thing. If the Lamar Jackson and the Ravens do their best not to trail, that's their, like you're saying, that's their biggest problem, is trailing. If they don't trail at halftime this year, I guarantee you they are a 11, 12, 13 win ball club.
Yeah. And they're going to beat up on a lot of bad teams this year.
Yeah.
But can they beat Kansas City in the playoffs? That's the question.
Maybe it's just me, but I thought, looking at when Derrick Henry scored that first touchdown, I think he had like 34 yards at that point. I thought he was kind of off to a hot start. And then, of course, they get behind. And, then you got to go a completely different route. But my question, Jake, you mentioned the backup tight ends and, the game that Isaiah Likely had. On that overturned touchdown call there at the end of the game, I feel like as an official, I feel like you can't assert yourself into that moment. I mean, after looking at the play, he was out of bounds, but they were going to go for 2 no matter what the call was.
Mm-hmm.
My belief is that as an official, you have to let them let the teams play it out in moments like that. But
He was out of bounds.
Yeah, I mean, he was out of bounds, but
yes, in the moment, if there was no video replay, sure, I'm always on the side of like, don't make it about you. But when you have video replay and you can see, like, yes, if he had been wearing white cleats and you couldn't really draw the line between and it wasn't clear and evident that he was out of bounds, I'm all for leaning on the side of let the players decide the game. But as close as it was obvious that he was across that line.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that big toe couldn't have been any bigger. I mean, it was evident, like you're saying, Jake. But, you guys mentioned Mark Andrews. I want to go back to that real quick. Is Mark Andrews going to be the, I guess, +1 left tackle for Derrick Henry this season? Because that's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
I mean, is that going to be a part of the growing pain for Baltimore, is that they can't get Mark Andrews into the game, incorporated in the game because of a running back like Derrick Henry that needs that extra addition to the line?
Well, and also their tackles just weren't very good.
No, exactly.
On Thursday night, which meant they had to leave Mark Andrews in to block, because Andrews is a much better blocking tight end than Isaiah Likely is.
Oh, 100%.
So they had to leave Andrews in to block, and that allowed Likely to have a big game. But for Mark Andrews fantasy owners like me, I wasn't too happy about it.
Hey, I'm an Isaiah Likely. I'm an Isaiah Likely fantasy owner, and I had him on my taxi squad.
See,
yeah, I know a guy that had him on his bench.
Because I have 2 tight ends. It's David Njoku and Evan Ingram. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, man. You're going to get the short end of the stick here.
See, nobody can blame anybody for leaving Xavier Worthy and Isaiah Likely on your bench. Those are not guys who, when I draft a team, I'm leaving my starters in for the first week. Like, I'm not tinkering with that. I drafted these guys in a certain order for a certain reason. Unless there's like a distinct matchup difference,
right,
I am going to stick with it. Nobody's putting Isaiah Likely in their lineup over Jake Ferguson, even.
Yeah.
In week 1. So I get it. I'm sure there are people out there who are acting like fantasy geniuses right now because they played Isaiah Likely, but most people are not playing Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
Quickly, let's get to last night's game.
Yes.
Sloppy. The field was sloppy. There were some sloppy turnovers on both sides, but very entertaining game.
Mm-hmm.
Got big, long touchdowns from Jaden Reed for the Packers, A.J. Brown for the Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon Barkley had 3 touchdowns in his Eagles debut. Entertaining game, terrible ending, and we mentioned it in our headlines. Hoping Jordan Love is okay, but could be some decisions to be made for the Packers in the coming days.
Yeah, and I want to touch on the field real quick. You mentioned, it was sloppy. Everybody's slipping around. Shame on the NFL, because as a soccer fan, soccer-specific stadiums, especially if they're natural grass like Brazil was in Sao Paulo last night, Soccer players use metal studs that are thicker and they're longer. NFL cleats are not like that. They're regular cleats that have a regular stud on them. And plus, they don't have that extra stud on the – they do have the extra stud on the front of the toe. Soccer cleats don't. They kind of like space them out. That's an issue. And that's why soccer cleats have that longer metal stud, especially in the professional, realm of it all. That's why you don't see soccer players slipping and sliding on fields like that. So shame on the NFL. Yes, it looked nice, but shame on them for not doing extra research and or making special cleats for the situation.
Yeah, it just seems like it's all of these international games. There's something wrong with the field, or when it's in Mexico City, it's the air quality. It's like, I get it. You want to expand the game, but let's make sure it makes sense logistically before we just jump in and risk the player's health. Do I think Jordan Love's injury was because of the field? No, it looked more just like a freak guy rolled over his leg. I think it was Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
But still, somebody could have gotten seriously hurt with those field conditions last night.
Yeah, I mean, even Malik Willis, when he came in the game for like the last two plays, he slipped on the first play. Like, I mean, he was obviously he muffed the snap, but like he's trying to go run out of the pocket. I think it was the last play when he got sacked on the 3rd and 6. I mean, he's slipping all over the place. And like, I'm not just going to point that one play out. But like, there were other plays where Jordan Love would drop back, or it was Saquon Barkley, the first play of the game that gave it to him up the middle.
Yeah.
Slipped. I'm like,
5-yard loss. Yeah.
Like, what is this? This is terrible football. It's a terrible product. And that's why I mean, shame on the NFL, because your football players that are in your league are the ones that are making you money. And when your key players are out and not making you money, you don't have a good product. So shame on you guys.
Yeah, I'm hoping that if they decide to go back to Sao Paulo or to somewhere else, I understand the soccer team played there on Sunday, I think they said. So it's not like there was a ton of time to work on the turf or anything, but it's like there's got to be some better solution than just letting those guys slip and slide all over the field all game long.
And I'm no grass savant at all.
Yeah.
But looking at it from the television perspective, that grass was cut very, very low. Like not like the normal height that an NFL field is. But, the NFL has its certain ramifications where it has to be to their liking and whatnot. But to my opinion, I don't think it was high enough. And I'm not, like I said, no grass savant here, but just didn't look up to quality in my opinion.
I agree with you. I'm glad that that's the only game in Brazil this year. We'll see what London and Germany look like later on in the year. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Our question of the day: what is your favorite Titans opener of all time? Lots of good options. We've got some answers on our text line already. We will get to those coming up next, and also our answers. Be sure to tune in to 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville tomorrow for coverage of the Quaker State 400. Coverage will begin at 1 p.m., and the race is set to start at 2. Coverage also available on the 93 FM Totally Hits Totally Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman, 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Back here on 4's Company on this Saturday morning, getting ready for a fun football weekend. We've got College Game Day on in studio behind us. They're getting set for Texas and Michigan in the Big House. That is coming up at 11 a.m. Central Time. Should be a fun one up there. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman with you. Not a ton of college football talk for us today. We might get to some in the second hour. We're going to stick with a lot of NFL talk because the NFL started. It's awesome. It's great. And the Titans play tomorrow in their debut in Chicago, facing off against the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams. We'll see. Maybe this is a new opener that we can put towards the top of the list for Titans fans. But our question of the day is, what is your favorite Titans opener of all time? And I hope you guys have been thinking about this.
I've been trying.
Do you have one that comes to mind?
I have one.
Jake Wallman, go ahead.
So I originally had 2, and I've been debating on which one I was going to choose. And I'm going to go with 2019 at Cleveland.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
You know, we thought Marcus was still the guy. Cleveland thought Baker Mayfield was still the guy. I think a lot of pundits may have picked that game to be pretty close. And
most people picked that game to be
Cleveland
Browns blowout.
Yeah.
Because that was OBJ's debut.
Yes, that's correct.
And Cleveland was coming off a year where I think they were not terrible. Like they went like 8-8 or something like that.
It's like a 500 record.
And they brought in OBJ, and everybody was saying, "Oh, the Browns are going to the Super Bowl." That was one of my favorites as well.
And Tennessee just went in there and just took them to the woodshed.
Was it 42-13?
43-13.
43-13.
Yeah, I was looking at the score box, the box score from that game. And there are a lot of names in that score box that I've not thought about in a while. Shout out Dion Lewis.
Delaney Walker, I think, had 3 touchdowns in that game, if I'm not.
A.J. Brown had 3 catches for 100 yards.
Yep. In his first game as a Titan.
Yeah.
That was a really fun one. That was up there for me. Frazier, do you have one that's coming to your mind?
I can't recall a memory. My brain is. I was telling Joe and Big Joe and Chase and Big Joe this past week, like, my brain sometimes has this foggy thing over the top. I don't know how to get rid of it. So I'm in that process right now.
Well, and I get it. Sometimes it's hard to come up with, like, on the spot, like, think through it.
I mean, maybe Chris Johnson's rookie year. Maybe that's something that recalls to my brain.
Who did they play?
I'm trying to find. That was what, the 08?
That was 08,
season?
yes.
Yeah.
That was the year.
Real quick.
Was that was Jacksonville, I want to say. That was Vince Young started the game and got hurt.
Yes. And he wore this cool little hat that I was dying to have.
Yes.
The white one with the blue.
The picture of him in the hat as he was hurt, and Kerry Collins had to step in for the rest of the year.
That was a 17-10.
Against the Jaguars,
yeah,
right?
They won.
Okay.
Yes.
That was a good one.
That might be the one for me.
I'm going to agree with one of our texters here. Marcus Mariota's debut.
That was my second one that I thought about choosing.
Versus Mariota, number 1 pick versus number 2 pick. Both of their first drives ended with a touchdown pass to the Titans. That was a great game.
Beautiful.
Was it?
And I think Marcus finished like 16 for 16, or I know he set a record.
Yeah, he had almost a flawless game. He had the little slant to Kendall Wright that went for a touchdown. Yeah. Was it Werner or was it Parrish Cox who had the pick 6?
Oh, let's give it a gander.
2015.
That is, that was the 42-14. Yikes.
I might be wrong on both of those. Cody Sensabaugh.
There's a name drop.
Yes. Wow. And touchdowns from Harry Douglas and 2 from Bishop Sankey in his debut as well.
Don't you remember as a Titans fan, like, yes, Bishop Sankey's going to be the next thing.
Never mind. That was year 2 for Bishop Sankey.
Year 2.
That was year.
I think 2015 was the year.
Still had a touchdown in the game, though.
He had 2. Yeah.
A receiving touchdown.
I will always remember Bishop Sankey's Monday Night Football game against the Steelers. He had one run that was just unbelievable. And I'm blanking on what he did exactly, but that is the one memory I have of Bishop Sankey. First running back off the board in the 2014 NFL draft.
Yes.
It was between him and Carlos Hyde.
Yikes.
I'm trying to recall the name of the Western Kentucky running back the Titans drafted. It may have been 2016.
Andrews.
Antonio Andrews.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that is who you're thinking of. I thought he was going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, that was just before Derrick Henry.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
and then it was that transition of Deion Lewis, Dexter McCluster, and then Derrick Henry.
God, yeah, Dexter McCluster.
Yeah.
He had 2 touches in that
Sean Green
in that game.
Sean Green. Wow.
Oh, who was the other one? I was just texting with one of my friends about this guy, and I don't know why. God, I'm not going to remember it. He was a backup for CJ for years. Never really played all that much. Text line, help me out. I literally just had his name in my mind.
It's not Chris Brown, is it?
No, not Chris Brown.
That was before CJ2K, I believe.
It was. I'm not going to get it. Anyway, those are all good ones. Trying to think of some other ones. I used to be able to go back through all the openers in my mind. Like last year was Saints. Then it was
Lendell White.
No, not Lendell White. I remember Lendell
Smash
White.
and dash. Yeah.
This guy was like, he's one of those guys when you're sitting around at a bar with your buddies and you say this guy's name and everybody's like, oh my God, yeah, phenomenal pull.
Yeah. I just love the name DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
That's a great one.
I mean, how can you not love that name?
I'm going to look up Titans running backs 2010. Javon Ringer. That is who I was thinking of. Yes.
Not on my bingo card.
Javon Ringer. That's one of those names that, yeah, it's like you're sitting around watching a game with your friends and like you're just naming off random guys. Colin McCarthy and Blitty Ray Wilson, naming off random Titans players. Javon Ringer would certainly qualify as
Michigan
one of those.
State guy. That's a Joe Rexrode type of guy.
Yes.
For you.
Yes. So great openers. If you have another one in mind, I think that the top two are going to be Marcus's debut and that Browns game.
Yeah.
Because the Titans have lost a lot of openers over the years. I mean, the 7-hour Dolphins game.
Yeah.
They lost to the Vikings in Marcus's second year, got blown out by the Patriots in 2015.
Blown out by the Patriots in 2010?
I think you're right.
I was at that game. I remember they gave us like the signs that you can see through. They wanted to do like a blue out or something. And I was at that game and it was just, it was hot.
What about the Steelers game in like 2012 or 2013 where Darius Raynaud took the opening kick and stepped back into the end zone and took a knee for a safety?
Yep.
Oh, yes. That was a CBS game.
Yes, the Titans made that game competitive. I think they still lost.
I think they did lose.
But they I mean, just what a way to start the season. Immediately down 2-0.
I believe it was a hot day that day too. It was real sunny.
It feels like all those early season games. Like I was here, was that 2019? The 2019 2019. It was the week after the Browns game. I came for the home opener where they retired McNair and George's number.
The Colts.
Yeah.
And that was like 125 degrees. I swear, I have never been hotter than when I was in that stadium.
Now that we're talking about season openers, it's now coming back to my brain. I know we're going to break here, but the Arizona Cardinals home opener against Titans home opener against the Arizona Cardinals, where the Titans just absolutely got
that was a
plastered.
game. Maybe that's what I was thinking of when I said that the game would be close.
Oh, the Cardinals one?
Yeah, the Cardinals.
Kyler Murray had himself a field day, and that was a rough one.
I'm like piecing together these openers. I couldn't do it in chronological order, but there was the Broncos 1-2. That was COVID when the Titans hit when Steven Gostkowski missed like 3 field goals and then finally, hit the game winner. And then there was some other ones.
38-13, by the way, the Cardinals won that game.
That one was ugly. DeAndre Hopkins had 3 touchdowns in that game, I think.
Kyler Murray, 289, 4 touchdowns.
That was when that was the game Chandler Jones got Taylor Lewan 5 times. That was ugly. Ugly game. Lots of bad openers for the Titans. They did beat the Chiefs. That was
2010.
No, it was
or maybe it was 2011.
2014.
2014. I'm all over the place.
Because I remember the Titans went 2-14 in 2014, but they won the opener. And then the next year they went 3-13, but won the opener. So they won 5 games in 2 years, but they won week 1 both years.
They sure did.
Which shows you week 1 can lie. Week 1 can certainly lie to you. And we'll see what the Titans have tomorrow. Maybe we get another one that we can add to the list of great openers for the Titans.
Let's just hope it's not a lie.
I know.
That's what I'm kind of scared
I know
of.
that week 1 lies to you. Let's hope the Titans are looking good tomorrow, and they can build off of it.
It stays true.
I've said that it reminds me of that 2019 opener against the Browns, the way that it's being
Really?
talked about, where all the hype's around the Bears and nobody's really talking about the Titans. I could see the Titans going in there and punching them in the mouth. And that 2019 season ended in the AFC Championship game. Not saying, don't hold me to that. I'm not predicting anything. That's a correlation, not causation right there. But looking forward to tomorrow's game again, noon in Chicago for Tennessee. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Be sure to tune into 1025, 1063, the game today for Vanderbilt football. The Commodores will take on Alcorn State at home with pregame beginning at 5 o'clock. Kickoff at 6:30. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. When we come back, Connor Newt's going to join us for Newt's Notes. At least we believe. I believe he's calling in. So we will hear from Connor Newt coming up next here on 4's Company, 1025, 1063, the game.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in
Connor Newt.
I believe in
Newt's Notes.
'Cause you love him in London and Paris and Tokyo, America, Scotland and Canada.
The greatest intro
Mexico,
in sports radio
for
Newt's Notes. Even though Connor Newt is not in studio with us today on 4's Company, we have Newt's Notes at 9:45. We have to. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman here in studio. Connor Newt now joins us on the phone lines. Take it away, my man.
You got the wrong number. This is a Zaxby's.
Well, in that case, can I take a boneless wings and things?
No, the correct answer is 5-finger chicken cow with double fries and a large sweet tea. That's the only answer.
Connor, how is are you on the road to Oxford right now?
We are about an hour in to the road to Oxford as we watch our MTSU Blue Raiders get just absolutely manhandled by the Rebels. But that is neither here or there. We're I'm in a car with 4 other guys. I told them shut up and let me be on the radio. So I couldn't miss a show.
I mean, what would we do with the 9:45 segment if you weren't here? I think we just have to sit in silence.
Dead air.
Yep, we'd sit in silence for 15 minutes.
Connor, by the way, that intro played, and I once again lost it and laughed to the top of my just can't help it anymore, man. I really can't. It's too funny.
I'll tell you this. I'm making more. I am making like 4 more, and they're just going to play on a rotation.
Oh, Lord. This is great. Oh, absolutely great. Yeah, Connor, so your expectation for Newt's Notes today with MTSU, give it to us.
Well, I will give you my expectations, and then I'll roll into the thing I actually wanted to rant about. But I mean, the expectations are low. If we're being perfectly honest, that's not a negative towards MTSU. It's just let's be honest, they're the sacrificial lamb here. I feel like they could hang it close for maybe a quarter, and then Ole Miss breaks loose. I mean, the Ole Miss offense is just absolutely electric with Jackson Dart throwing the ball to Trey Harris and Juice Wells. It's just unheard of in terms of offense. Like, you only find this in the SEC. So, I mean, I feel like this is going to be worse than the Alabama game last year in terms of scoring. I think my prediction over on Go Middle, shameless plug there, I had it listed Ole Miss winning 62-17, I think is an appropriate way of putting it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm here for the vibes, man. I'm here for an SEC football environment. So let's do it.
Well, first half's going to be close. I'll say that. That's all.
Yeah, it's a different team under Derek Mason for sure. I feel like they come in fired up from last week after nearly blowing it to Tennessee Tech. I feel like they're ready to play, and let's be honest. Derek Mason's got a winning record against Lane Kiffin, so that is certainly something to look out for. Does he bring that same edge over to Oxford with the Blue Raiders?
It's possible. You're not wrong.
I mean, it's a big line. It's what, 43, I think I heard them say yesterday.
Yeah, 42 and a half.
But I mean, they've got to play better than they did last week. But Ole Miss is coming off a 76-0 win or something like that. Like, there's going to be a step back from that, you would think. I think I'm not going to say it'll be close, but I think maybe it's competitive early on the game.
Connor, I don't mean to take up your segment real fast, but do you think Derek Mason?
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I was going to say real quick, do you think Derek Mason provides like a wrinkle of some sort in his game plan?
That's a tough question. Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not completely sold on the Derek Mason era yet. I still think there's a lot of room for improvement, and I think that'll grow over time once we get into the easier non-conference. I say easy. They have Duke coming to town, and then Memphis heading to Memphis. But yeah, I do think a factor into this one is Western Kentucky comes to town next week, and that's obviously a huge rivalry, 100 miles of hate. But I think we could see something, and Derek looks ahead, the team looks ahead, kind of a blowout from Ole Miss. But yeah, I do think there is a little bit of a wrinkle in the Derek Mason system so far. They didn't finish last week. They had a 21-0 lead at one point and they blew it. So we'll see. It's overreaction season. Obviously it's week 1. So, week 2 now. So we'll see how this goes. But I am looking forward to this game. I will say I can't wait. I've told you all before, and I've told our listeners, Ole Miss runs in my blood. So it's good to get back in good old VHS.
Well, we're excited for you, Connor. We miss you in studio. We didn't get nutrition. Have you had anything to eat on your trip so far?
I had multigrain Cheerios this morning before I walked out the door.
Love it. Any thoughts on the NFL games we've seen so far the last 2 days? Really entertaining stuff so far.
Very entertaining. Yeah. I mean, Jordan Love's done. I will put it that way. I tweeted out last night and it kind of blew up. As a fantasy owner of Jordan Love, I had never gone to the waiver wire and picked up Matthew Stafford so fast. I literally did it within seconds of that knee getting blown. But it is promising to see him walk off the field and on his own. And it looked like he was catering more towards his ankle than the knee, which is promising. It did come out today. He's getting, I think, an MRI done on his knee. So we'll see how that goes. But Saquon Barkley, I was high on him coming into the season. I think when we did our offensive draft, I took him and I said, watch out for him. And of course he goes out and scores 3 touchdowns. So the Eagles are certainly a team to look out for in the NFC. And then I think going to Thursday night, I think the funniest thing that came out of that was Isaiah Likely in the post game presser saying the Chiefs are basically saying the Chiefs are not a playoff team. So that's going to come to bite them. But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy football is back. Full slate this weekend, college today, obviously, and then the Titans in action tomorrow in Chicago. And I'll probably be in the car watching that one, but we cannot be more ecstatic that two-tone blue football is back.
Yes, it should be a fun one tomorrow. We were just talking about our favorite openers in Titans history. I don't know if you've been listening, Connor, but do you have a favorite Titans opener that comes to mind?
I believe Marcus's first game comes to mind against Tampa Bay when he threw for 4, actually one of only 3 quarterbacks to throw for 4 touchdowns in their debut. The other one being Will Levis. So 2 of them are Titans. That comes to mind. 2019, I think you've mentioned this one before, Jake. 2019 against the Browns, with all the smoke coming from the Browns, Odell's first game, and then the Titans come into Cleveland and just punch the dogs in the mouth.
Yes.
That one's a fun one.
Those are the 2 that we brought up. I think that if there were any other ones, maybe the Broncos one.
My least favorite the other day, or a couple years ago, was Arizona coming to town and punching us in the mouth. So,
and TD was talking about the Giants game 2 years ago too. That one hurt as well because Titans were up 13-0 and dominating that game, and then the Giants stormed back and won it with a 2-point conversion at the very end.
Yeah. That one did hurt for sure. Can I give my rant?
Yeah, give a quick rant.
Really? Okay, so this is away from football. College basketball, of course, everyone on our airwaves and in the state of Tennessee knows I'm a diehard Big Blue Kentucky. So, did you guys see what John Calipari tweeted out the other day?
Yeah, with PJ Washington.
Yes, it was a picture of him with PJ Washington, which is fine. It said, thanks for PJ for stopping by and all that. One problem, PJ Washington's wearing full Arkansas Razorback gear.
Yeah.
Unacceptable. I'm putting my fan goggles on for a second. Unacceptable. That would be like, let's say, Tim Tebow shows up at Ohio State when Urban Meyer goes to Ohio State in full Buckeye gear. Would Florida fans accept that? Absolutely not. So same with Nick Saban. Nick Saban goes to Alabama and brings in a former LSU player in full Crimson Tide gear. I understand what you're doing with your coach. I appreciate that you communicate with your coach and that you are still buddy-buddy with him, but come on. You did not go to school at Arkansas. You don't get to wear the Arkansas gear.
But
you're a Wildcat.
But did he graduate from Kentucky? That is the big. That's the
he
lying
only went
issue.
there 1 year.
Yes.
Or did he go 2?
No, but did he graduate from Arkansas?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Neither of those schools he graduated from.
You commit to the coach, not the school, Connor.
Bingo.
Well, you commit to the fans.
I don't know if it gets to that point.
Connor, we appreciate you calling in for Newt's Notes. Always great stuff. We'll look forward to having you back here next week and hope you enjoy Oxford. Go Blue Raiders.
Of course. And real quick, my picks, since I'm going to miss them.
Yeah.
I'll take Titans over the Bears. I'll take Tennessee over NC State today. And give me the Cats over the Gamecocks, baby.
Love it.
Can we get 3 booms?
You get 5 on the boom meter. You get boom, 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 boom.
Wow. It's like having AJ and Big Justice in the room with us.
Yeah, it's like you can just feel the presence.
Connor,
all my Twitter feed is full of that.
Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it. And again, get to Oxford safe, and hopefully you guys get a good one tonight.
Well, if you know me, I'm never safe. And but I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys having me on. And go Ducks.
Connor Newt's Notes, calling in to maintain his 9:45 segment as he has every Saturday morning. We will take a quick break. When we come back, we will start the second hour of the show with Vanderbilt soccer head coach Darren Ambrose. Going to talk to him about his good start to the season and senior day tomorrow against MTSU. That's up next here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sports talk doesn't stop on Friday.
What? You give me one good reason.
It's Saturday.
And these guys have a lot to say.
Let me talk to you.
This is 4's Company. Brought to you by LPL Financial Nashville and Patrick Conger, financial planning for tomorrow so that you can enjoy today with Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, and Connor Newt on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hour number 2 here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman with you on this Saturday morning. And we just got our daily dose of Connor Newt on our phone line heading into hour number 2. And now we start off the 10 o'clock hour with a phenomenal guest. Vanderbilt head soccer coach Darren Ambrose joins us on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coach, thanks so much for taking some time with us this morning. How are you doing?
Great. Hey, morning, guys. Thanks for having us on. Oh, excited. Another game tomorrow. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, good start to your team this season. Undefeated so far, 3 wins, 2 draws. What has looked good for your team through these first couple of games of the season?
Yeah, I think the team is a united front. They're a very close group. I think when it comes to how that translates on the field, we feel like we're pretty deep. Have a lot of people who can score goals this year, and at the same time, I think as a group, we're defensively pretty solid. 4 shutouts, I think, so far out of the 5 games we've played. So I think we're fun to watch. I think when we get going, we're an exciting team to watch play.
Well, you mentioned your defense. One goal allowed so far this season. What have you seen from that group back there that's allowed you to have so much success?
I think there's experience. We've got a couple of fifth years in our back line, Alex Wagner and Jess Hinton, and then you've got an all-SEC player in Hannah McLaughlin, who is kind of embodies composure and experience in the position. And then in goal too, obviously we've got a senior in Sarah Jelko and Kate Devine, who is yet to play due to injury as a fifth-year senior. So we feel really, really good about the depth and the experience that we have there. And even our younger players, like, Marybeth McLaughlin and Ellie Fife, who come into games off the bench, have maintained the level of play. So I just think there's a belief and a combative mentality to us that you can't teach.
We have Coach Darren Ambrose here. Coach, I wanted to ask you what I guess you'd say either coach in the past or currently kind of influences your game now that you've gotten into coaching with Vanderbilt?
What has influenced my game?
Yeah, just is there a specific coach in mind that's kind of influenced a style of play or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, my time as an assistant and in playing the game, I played for a lot of different people. I worked for 3 different coaches, and I think it's I've taken a little bit from everyone. And I think, in coaching, you take what you like about something and you add your own spin to it. And I can go back from an organizational perspective to a gentleman called Joe Maroney, who actually is probably the father figure of men's college soccer in this country back in the 70s and 80s. And I was fortunate to work with him very briefly. He passed away several years ago, but his approach to people and his organizational methods were highly influential. And then a guy called Andy Marcinko at Rhodes College, who gave me my first opportunity, and I was men's and women's assistant with him. And his attention to detail and his work ethic were what I picked up on. As far as style goes, I love to, even though I'm English, the old joke about English being direct and not probably more current in play methods. I love to see people enjoy the ball and play with the ball. I think it's a beautiful sight when the timing and fluidity of a team in possession gets it right. But I do have a defensive mind as a goalkeeper, former goalkeeper, and I want us to be tough. I want us to be incredibly combative and difficult to break down. So the 2 contrasting styles within the same game. So,
Coach, we're talking with Coach Darren Ambrose, head coach of Vanderbilt women's soccer. Looking on your website, you guys have drawn 6 yellow cards so far this year. What do you guys do defensively that can frustrate a team?
I think we take pride in one of our statements is trying to be the toughest, fittest, most prepared team in the SEC, and it's a statement that I fall back on quite a lot. And the reason being is it's a pretty simple statement, and it gives the players tremendous control, because being tough and being fit are choices that athletes get to make. Coaches don't make those choices; an athlete does, so it puts tremendous responsibility on them. I mean, yellow cards are obviously at the will of the referee, and some referees are quick to pull a card, others aren't. But I think there's just a combative, competitive nature to us that, we don't want to give up goals. We preach it in practice. We, again, as we get into SEC play, that will be critical. But I think it comes down to just the culture and the environment. We talk about leaving your feet, which you guys would probably know as slide tackling. It's not something that you see a lot in women's soccer, or didn't used to, but you see it a lot more now. We've preached that to our players. It's a physical courage, but also a little bit of emotional courage to leave it in what that means to our program. So, you'll see a lot of our players doing that, and I think it just makes us as difficult to beat.
Coach, you also mentioned earlier about having a lot of 5th years and out of the back, and it's easier for you guys to score, and you love to play with possession. Did you find that to be, I guess, easier to coach when you have that veteran leadership in the back, and you're able to just see the field better as a coach and help your players, I guess, guide them in the right direction?
Yeah, I think when you have trust in players, obviously as coaches, you want to trust your players, and you build that trust over time. And typically, as freshmen, you're still trying to kids are trying to figure themselves out, and as a coach, you're trying to see how they handle pressurized moments. And over time, you get to know players and what they're capable of, and they become more comfortable, and their maturity allows them to be a lot calmer, more composed. So I think having players that have been around for a while and can manage a little bit of stress and a little bit of pressure, they've built this resume of trust, right, over time. So when you get all the players on the field, whether that's, again, 5th years in there or seniors who have played, a lot of minutes in different environments, there's a greater trust factor that as coaches you have, and also between themselves. And I think that's generally what we're seeing right now with this group.
Coach, that win against St. Mary's a few weeks ago, your 100th with Vanderbilt soccer, to reach that milestone with this program, how much does that mean to you? And, what can you take back from all of your years with this program that have led you to reaching so much success?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I have to admit I had no idea. That was it was a huge surprise. I was walking off the field. I heard my name and then turned around. There was a graphic of me on the board, which kind of embarrassed me a little bit. But, I think at the end of the day, I'm in sports and I'm in team sports because I love the idea of belonging to a group. And what I take from it is that I've had an awful lot of great people in my, this is now early in my 10th season at Vanderbilt. I had 15 years at Penn as a head coach. And the same question was asked of me at Penn when I had 100, I think it was back in 2010. My wife reminded me, I still think about the people that I've come across in my time at Penn. And it's the same thing here at Vanderbilt. I just can't believe that it's been nine years already. But then I think back about the faces and the personalities and the conversations and the high moments and some of the low moments that we fought through together. Some off-field things that brought us together, shared experiences. Just a lot of really, really good people in the administration, through staff down to the players, and obviously now our alumni. This is not a one-man show. This is a team thing. And, from a staff perspective, it's a team effort. From a player's perspective, it's a team effort. So really, I joke with the team. The only thing I can really take credit for is bringing people together. And I think that's one of the things I love being able to do in this role, whether that's connect our players with alumni, whether that's staff, it doesn't matter to me. It's just a big team effort. And that's what drives me and motivates me. I love being around people of similar mindset and achieving things and seeing people achieve their maximum growth. That's what drives me. Just having a small part in developing somebody as a player, as an athlete, as a person. That's the joy I've taken from it. It's just a number. It just shows a little longevity, I think, is what it probably shows. But it just shows a number of people and opportunities that I've had to work with some really cool individuals.
And to add on to that comment, you've had a lot of players in the past that have gone on to play professionally. Like, how gratifying is that for you as a coach to see players that you've coached, and also a testament to your coaching style as well?
Oh yeah, I think the beauty of where we are at Vanderbilt is we talk about you can be a professional in anything, and it doesn't have to be soccer, right? So if we focus on the game and the 8 or 9 girls that have gone on, or young women that have gone on to make some kind of a career or be drafted, and it's satisfying because that was a goal they had, and to have a part in helping them reach a goal is incredibly fulfilling and satisfying for me as an individual. But I take just as much pride in telling you, well, this kid's a doctor, she's a lawyer, she runs this department, this girl lives over in Europe doing this, that I also had a hand in their journey and their path, and maybe something that we did or said, or a book I had them read, or a leadership lesson that we gave them. When I hear those stories and I hear those conversations from alumni, which I have, and hey, remember when we read this book, I'm working and my boss decided to read this book and I've already read it and I know all about it. That is as meaningful to me as anybody who puts on a professional jersey. Because at the end of the day, it's about how do we affect young people and how do we teach them to go out and better their communities and their professional worlds. And that's the biggest thrill for me as a person and as a coach.
Talking with Vanderbilt soccer head coach Darren Ambrose. Last one for you, Coach. Tomorrow night, Middle Tennessee comes over to the Plex, 6 p.m. kick for senior night. What does that game mean to you every year to get to celebrate those seniors and, give them an opportunity to play in front of their home fans against a local team like Middle Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, seniors are every year you have to say goodbye to people, and you have to, the turnover in college sports is a natural, transition. But it's also a moment where for them themselves, they realize that, hey, this is my last go around here, and there's an emotional content to it. So it's a joyful moment. It's also kind of a moment in time that you recognize people are moving on. So I'm proud of this group. I think they came in post-COVID. It was very difficult. They had a tough high school experience, tough recruiting experience. The ups and downs of that we all experienced in the world of coming out of COVID. They've battled through it, and here they are. And they're a big reason, I think, this year that again we got off such a good start. They've brought the team together. They're a lot of the glue that we need. I have a ton of respect for each of them. So it's my hope is that we put on a show on tissue. I'm not going to come in here and lie down because it's our senior night. This is going to be a big game for them, and I hope that our team, and I'm sure they will step up and honor our seniors in the way that they deserve.
Head coach of Vanderbilt soccer, Darren Ambrose. Coach, thanks again so much for your time, and good luck tomorrow night.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us on.
Head coach Darren Ambrose, and again, 6:00 kick tomorrow night over at the Plex. So if you're done watching the Titans game, you can go out and watch some great soccer over on West End.
I just love the way he said that. Playing beautiful soccer. And that's just something that's just underlooked at, just not looked at highly. And I just love that. When coaches emphasize the beautiful game and playing it in a beautiful style of possession, I'm in favor.
Always great stuff from head coach Darren Ambrose. I've talked to him a few times, just going over and covering some of their games. They put on a great show. They do a great job, and excited for them off to a great start this season. 4's Company. When we come back, we'll get back to football a little bit. Titans starting their season tomorrow in Chicago. Noon kick against the Bears. We will preview that game coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's your man, Booker T, 6-time world champ, 2-time Hall of Famer. Wake up, man, and get in the ring with the...
4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman with you. Just had a great conversation with Vanderbilt soccer head coach Darren Ambrose. Great stuff from him. And again, senior night tomorrow night as they take on MTSU. That should be a fun one over at Vanderbilt. Lots of great stuff from him as they're 3-0-2 to start the season now. So
solid.
Coming off a scoreless draw against Kansas on Thursday. A couple more games in the non-con for them, and then they get into SEC play Thursday, September 19th at Auburn.
I'm intrigued about the SEC just schedule for them in general because they're back-to-back almost, like those games. There's like a 19th, 22nd, 26th. And normally when you get into the meat and potatoes of your season, you're, going through walkthroughs on a day one on a Monday and then recovering on a Tuesday and then traveling Wednesday and going Thursday.
So they're going to be all over the place. It looks like they travel a lot early there too, like at Auburn, then they come back, and then they head to Knoxville. So excited to keep up with Darren Ambrose and company as they look to return to the NCAA tournament this year. I believe they missed it last year, but they were in it and won a game a couple years ago. So we'll have to see how it turns out this year. Seems like he's pretty pleased with the direction of his team.
Delighted in some regard.
We will get back into some football here as we prepare for week 1 of the NFL season. 2 games already in the books. Full slate tomorrow. 7 hours of commercial-free football is now just over 24 hours away. Titans are in Chicago taking on the Bears. Guys, just general first impressions of this matchup. On paper, I feel like it looks pretty even.
Yeah.
If you're looking just straight up at the rosters, I don't think either side has a significant edge. The big question is Caleb Williams going to immediately be able to step into the NFL and be the guy that everyone hopes he's going to be, or are there going to be some growing pains tomorrow?
I want to say it's a little bit of both, if I can say that. I know that's a little kind of beating behind the bush type thing, but I think he's going to have some success. He's going to have some high points, maybe a little bit more low points in the game, just due to the fact that rookie quarterback. From what it sounds like, where everybody's been hyping this up, if Denard Wilson brings the house like everybody's saying he will, Caleb Williams is going to have a long, long day on Sunday.
I think it's fair to assess that, it seems, pretty fair or pretty even on both sides. One thing that I'm interested in watching from Chicago is how they work the receivers. Rookie Rome Odunze. I think Keenan Allen, as of yesterday, was questionable. They were going to see what his designation was. So if he can't go or if he's limited, who do they turn to? Cole Kmet, could have a big day. So, how does that relationship look on TV with his wide receivers?
Yeah, that's the matchup that I'm most excited to see. And I guess we'll see if Keenan Allen is out there. Seems like Chidobe Awuzie, even though he's questionable, is going to play.
Right.
But that matchup, Titans corners versus Bears wide receivers, that will be – we're going to learn a lot about L'Jarius Sneed and whether he is truly that lockdown guy that the Titans think they traded for.
Yeah, and you mentioned the defense. You mentioned Chidobe Awuzie, L'Jarius Sneed. I'm worried about the stamina of that secondary. Yes, it's all new faces, and they're elite players, and they have this great resume, but the stamina, you're going up against a rookie wide receiver who's got some wheels. Yeah, you probably put Roger McCreary on him. I mean, you also have DJ Moore, who can take the top off of defense if need be. He's a just perennial wide receiver that can just run any part of the route tree.
Yeah.
As for Keenan Allen, there were rumors about him gaining 20 pounds and 20 pounds not for the better. Not sure, maybe that's a part of his questionable injury report. Maybe who knows? Maybe it's putting a little extra pressure on his knees. I don't know. But that's my big worry for the Titans defense in general is just the stamina.
I don't know if you saw I played it on the show with TD yesterday, the Adam Schefter clip of him saying the Bears are super relieved in that building that they're not facing some exotic defense like Brian Flores.
Is that the one with Laura Rutledge?
Yeah.
Yes, I did see that.
Do a little bit of research. I understand Adam Schefter, he is great at what he does. He is a great reporter, has lots of sources, but do a little bit of research. Denard Wilson his defense is in Philly and Baltimore. And as TD has said, everybody that he has grown up working under, he blitzes. They're going to be sending a lot of stuff at Caleb Williams to try and throw him off his game. Yes, maybe it's not Brian Flores, because Brian Flores is known for making it tough on rookie quarterbacks. But I think Denard Wilson has a plan to do the exact same thing to Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I said it, shame on the NFL, shame on Adam Schefter. I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy's got a full plate, but like you're saying, do a little homework. And it's typical of the national media to talk about the Titans that way. They always overshadow the Titans. They never give a true definition of what this team really is. I mean, even when Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown were here, they were getting a little bit more notoriety, but now that their marquee guys are gone, you're moved on to this next era. You're just like, oh, well, we're talking about Brian Callahan and this new Titans defense and offense. They could do something. Like, it's just vanilla.
Well, and Adam Schefter, like, again, I do think he does a pretty good job at most of what he does. I still have not quite gotten over the fact that he would not step back on the report that Derrick Henry was out for the season back in 2021.
Yeah.
He did it on every Monday Night Countdown and every NFL Live he was on. Well, Derrick Henry's out for the season, so the Titans, even if they make the playoffs, like blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, everybody else is reporting that Derrick Henry could come back for the playoffs. And he was so stubborn in thinking that his sources were right that he wouldn't go back on it. And then guess what? Derrick Henry, yes, they lost the game, but Derrick Henry came trotting out of the tunnel against the Bengals in the divisional round of the playoffs that year.
That was his foot injury, right? He had that little foot
was it Liz Frank or
something like that?
Something like that, where they had to put the screw in his foot.
Yeah.
Again, no general problem with Adam Schefter, but it's just like he's a little stubborn in if he reports something, he will stand by it even if he is wrong. There's no retractions, there's no anything. And clearly was wrong on NFL Live about what Caleb Williams might see on Sunday from Denard Wilson.
Yeah, and as for the offensive side of the ball for the Titans going into Sunday, I really want to see what the tight end position is. I'm kind of prefaced it in the preseason, but if David Martin Robinson is, this key factor of actually getting a roster spot, I think he's a rotational guy, like to the point where it's looking like the one spots.
I think he should get some snaps with the offense.
Yeah.
Like what he showed us, I know it's preseason, it's not against the ones, but like Chig and Wiley have not shown enough that their spots in the lineup are locked in solid. Like if you give him 2 or 3 snaps or 2 or 3 targets and he makes some plays, he could easily start rising up that depth chart.
Yeah. And the reason why I also mentioned the tight ends is because Brian Callahan mentioned in, I think 2-3 press conferences ago about the screen game. I think I'm really honing in on that. This screen game for this team might be something not deadly, but lethal in this offense, because you have a guy like Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard, David Martin Robinson. Even you could use Treylon Burks if that's an option for them.
Yeah.
All those guys are great in some sort of quick RPO slip screen or some sort of just, off to the side screen immediately, and you just get 1-2 blocks and you're all off to the races.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, that's what Brian Callahan was successful in Cincinnati about with Joe Mixon and hell, even T. Higgins in some regards.
Yeah. I mean, I think we are going to see a lot of different weapons used. Like we might see Will Levis complete passes to 7 or 8 different guys tomorrow, depending on if DeAndre Hopkins plays, I think. But like you could see obviously the top guys, Ridley, Hopkins, Boyd, Burks, couple of tight ends, Pollard, Spears. Like I think it's going to be pretty multiple from what the Titans are going to do.
Yeah. And don't forget about Jaquan Jackson. That's another guy on the offense that you could use, and maybe even use him as a gadget guy, kind of like Kansas City's using with Xavier Worthy, or they have done in the past with McCole Hardman. Don't be afraid to watch out for that, because they tried out a double reverse against the Saints or something like that.
And I saw there was some quarterback, like guy who scouts quarterbacks on YouTube. He was saying, why is Will Levis not out there lead blocking for Jaquan Jackson? I'm like, because it's the preseason. Like, do we want Will Levis throwing his shoulder into somebody in a meaningless game?
Well, I mean, in general, I mean, I don't know. I remember Will Levis making that run against Miami last year, where
Jalen Ramsey,
right? I mean, just running him right through him, which was, I mean, that's a great thing. You want to see that from your quarterback, but on the other hand, if this guy's the future, and I think as of right now, we all think he is, I wouldn't want Will Levis, going all out in any game. I mean, I wouldn't want Will Levis putting his career on the line
in games that are not
games that are not so important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm hoping tomorrow Will Levis doesn't go out there and the moment's not too big for him, because if they trail or they go behind in some regard and he starts playing hero ball,
that's the main question.
That's what I'm worried about.
You don't want Will Levis to come out and feel like he's got to force everything. Like, yes, you take your shots, but take what the defense is giving you. That's the biggest thing for Will Levis, is not trying to show off the arm talent too much. We know you got it, but you don't need to flaunt it right off the bat.
It's like a double-edged sword, because if he doesn't play hero ball and whatever the defense is giving him is not there, and you don't have nobody to hand it off to, he's going to end up running it and lowering his shoulder, and hopefully he doesn't get hurt. It's a double-edged sword. You can't negate. You can't get around it.
Yes, and
that's what I'm just worried about.
Will Levis, they've tried to talk him down from some of these runs, and he lowered the shoulder in that 49ers preseason game. They're trying to keep him healthy. That is the main thing. As we saw with Jordan Love last night, obviously freak injury there, but losing your quarterback, it changes your season immediately. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Also, tune in to 94.9 The Fan today as the Nashville Sounds take on Gwinnett. Pregame is at 6:20. First pitch at 6:35, with coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 94.9thefan.com. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. We'll keep talking Titans on the other side of the break. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman, 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan today at 2:30 p.m. for our college football game of the week. Iowa State versus Iowa, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman with you on 4's Company, talking Titans as we get ready for game one of the Two-Tone Blues season tomorrow in Chicago, taking on the Bears. Let's talk a little injuries here. You mentioned Jamal Adams during the break, Nick Frazier. No Jamal Adams for Sunday's game in what would be his first game as a Titan.
Yep.
Concerned about that, even though maybe he wasn't going to be a high snaps kind of guy, but certainly a guy that you could plug in and have him try and make a few plays here and there.
Yeah, I think it's an issue. I mean, it was already an issue when they first signed him. I mean, we had people on the text line when the news broke on our show that they were saying that we were saying the sky was falling. I mean, I was the one that was kind of, I guess, overreacting, but in all regards, not necessarily overreacting, because you need at least 8 games out of this guy. I mean, at least 8. I mean, he doesn't have to play in those 8 games, but you need him at least for game planning. As other teams are like, oh, Jamal Adams is active. Oh, he's playing. oh, we need to game plan for that guy. We don't know. He may not play, but we need to game plan for him. So when you take out this, puzzle piece to your defense and he's not available, that becomes an easier, game plan for the opposite team, and especially Chicago, for a team that has a high octane offense on paper. This could be a game where you kind of need a Jamal Adams to be a game plan.
You hope that maybe the addition of Ernest Jones can help with that, because they want to have multiple guys who can rush the passer from different spots and bring those simulated pressures. Adams, I think, was going to be used more as a blitzer and a box eight. Like, you're not putting Jamal Adams back in single high coverage.
No.
But having Ernest Jones and Kenneth Murray, who both can kind of be those cannons, pin your ears back and go get the quarterback from the inside linebacker spot, maybe that softens the blow a little bit of not having Adams in this game.
Maybe so. I mean, you're kind of limited in the playbook a little bit with Ernest Jones, in my opinion, because he's only been here, 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, I guess that's true. You don't know if he's going to be
fully immersed into the defensive
that is true.
packages, which is understandable. And people probably thinking, well, it's defense. There's zone coverages, blitz coverages, whatever.
It's pretty similar. Yeah.
It's pretty easy. Well, it is. But at the same time, you got to build a chemistry. You got to know if, your nose guard's going to, maybe he shifts a little bit to the A gap, and you want to be able to rub off his right hip if you're blitzing into the A gap. Like, if he's going B, you're going A, you want to be able to rub off. Like, it's just certain, small things like that. And I think that goes a long way in defenses like Denard Wilson's, because one slip of a blitz that goes the wrong way, a team's probably taking it 60 to the house.
That is true, especially with all the weapons that the Bears have. I mean, DeAndre Swift in the backfield. We've mentioned the wide receivers. Cole Kmet's a great tight end as well. On the offensive side, Titans questionable DeAndre Hopkins. Questionable whether he's going to be out there. Paul Kaharski of paulkaharski.com revealed that it was an MCL tear for DeAndre Hopkins this week. So a little more serious than maybe we had heard at first. I know they said it was a knee sprain at first, but he's been out there all 3 days of practice. Didn't have a sleeve or any brace on yesterday. You hope he's out there, but big opportunity for Treylon Burks if he's not, to prove that he's a playmaker.
Yeah, and if I'm the Titans and Brian Callahan, you have to utilize the way you kind of go back to the Jamal Adams thing about game planning. Like, if you're going to have, DeAndre Hopkins questionable and then eventually active for Sunday's game, you have to use him in certain spots. Like, maybe just use him for red zone, or maybe, because before the season I said, use Calvin Ridley from the 20 to 20. So basically, when you're 20 all the way to the other 20, that's where you use Calvin Ridley for those chunk yards. And then red zone, and then you use, DeAndre Hopkins for some sort of, red zone offense. Like, that's how you got to utilize this offense, especially. And then maybe just use Treylon Burks as where DeAndre Hopkins would be on the offense from your own 20 to the other red zone.
Yes.
That's how you got to utilize it. And so go ahead.
I don't feel terrible about the Titans running out Ridley, Burks, and Boyd as your 3 wide receivers in week 1. If you can give DeAndre another week to just rest up, make sure that we're not going to have a longer term injury, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But you do want to see DeAndre out there, because you feel like those 3 receivers complement each other so well with Ridley, Hopkins, and Boyd. But I'm okay if they say, you know what, let's just play it better safe than sorry. But I'd like to see Burks out there as well.
Follow me on this, Jake. Okay, so yesterday, and other Jake, both Jake's times 2 here. Follow me on this. So yesterday on the Chase and Big Joe show, their question of the day was like, what is your hot take for the Tennessee Titans this season? And I mentioned, maybe my hot take is Brian Callahan takes this Tennessee Titans team as a wild card team to the playoffs. So maybe look at DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not trying to get the high hopes up for Titans fans right now. I'm really not. But I'm just saying, follow me on this. Say the Titans, I guess, rest DeAndre Hopkins and get him back to full health and basically prioritize him for a playoff run. Maybe the Titans are looking at a lightning in a bottle situation with their offense and with their defense. Maybe this team could have a potential of making a wild card, and then that's where you start using DeAndre Hopkins to his full capabilities.
How long are you resting Hopkins?
I mean, let's say this sprain or tear or whatever it may be, say next week is the first week he can really start doing things. Maybe he's still not 100%. Give him to about week 3, week 4. I want them fully healthy, because there's enough offensive firepower without DeAndre Hopkins with this Titans offense.
Yes, I think if you don't think he's ready to go this week or next week, and again, this is me not being a doctor, not knowing exactly what's going on. But if you don't think he can be ready this week or next week, put him on IR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let him come back after the bye week. I know that's not popular, but like I would much rather have DeAndre Hopkins fully healthy, ready to go week 6 against the Colts.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
If it's not that serious and he can maybe miss this week and come back against the Jets and you're not worried about any re-injury. And Brian Callahan said they're not worried about re-injury as much. It's more conditioning right now.
Right.
So this may be completely overreacting. And if he's fine, whatever, I'd love to see him out there sooner rather than later. But if it's a concern, give him till after the bye week. You got the early bye. Make sure that he's good to go before you get him out there on the field.
Is this one of those situations where you ask the player how they're doing and you kind of take their word on it, but then you kind of keep a real close eye on him on how he's doing?
Yes and no. I'd say yes and no.
But yeah, I guess it is also like all these guys, they're going to say that they're good to go.
Yeah. Especially if they're dogs, like everybody says they are.
Got that dog in them.
You got to trust the doctors. Like, I'm not a doctor. I haven't talked to the doctors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bad one. That's going down into the trash.
I have not seen the injury. I wouldn't know what to do if I saw the injury. Like, trust what the doctors say. But I'm just saying, if it's something where you're like, who knows? It could be 2 weeks. It could be 4 weeks. I'm okay with, let's not let DeAndre Hopkins go out week 1, re-injure it, need surgery, and miss the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But again, this is from somebody who does not know.
But you make a valid point, though, Jake. I really do think that's not a bad option because, I mean, if Mason Kinsey's pinky is okay by now, I mean, bring him up. Maybe if he's off P squad, bring him up. Put Ridley. I mean, not Ridley, but D Hop on IR. Get him fully healthy, and then that's how you manipulate roster spots. That's how you get a solid team to make a playoff run. I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, and I think Callahan said that they're not leaning towards pulling someone up from the practice squad, but I wouldn't hate bringing up Mason Kinsey. Like, gives you a little bit more safety in the return game if maybe Jaquan Jackson struggles or if he gets hurt. I wouldn't hate that. 5 wide receivers is fine, but I think you'd feel better with 6 if DeAndre Hopkins can't go out there and play.
And there's always NWI.
Thank you. I was about to say, we haven't mentioned NWI yet.
That is true.
And that's somebody
the Honda Accord.
The Honda Accord that has probably about 100,000 miles on it.
And still rolling smooth.
Somebody buffed it the other day. They went over to the car wash and buffed the patina on top, and it just looks great.
Well, we're going to make our picks for this game coming up in the next segment. I think the key to this game is going to be the turnover battle. Because Caleb Williams is a rookie, he is going to be you need to frazzle him. You need to get him off his game, and hopefully that turns into a couple of giveaways. On the other side, Will Levis, the most important thing for him is not turning the football over.
Mm-hmm.
Make good decisions. Trust your arm strength, yes, but don't force the ball into double coverage. I think whoever wins the turnover battle probably wins the game tomorrow, which can be true for a lot of football games. But I think if the Titans are able to get 2 picks against Caleb Williams, Will Levis keeps it to maybe 1 turnover, I think the Titans have a good chance to win.
I like that. Yeah, you're not wrong. Turnover battle will be a problem. I mean, will be an issue for this game. I think it's going to be whoever has the most average yards for me. Like, if Chicago establishes a solid run game and they get about 4.5 yards per carry, Titans are in for a world of hurt.
Yeah. Jake, thoughts on what might be big in this one?
I'll agree in a sense that, they need something like a turnover to happen, but I'll be interested to see if the Titans are able to steal a possession.
Yeah.
A big punt return, kickoff return, going for it on 4th down at like your own 45, something like that where it just changes the game in a way.
Pivotal moment.
Yeah. And the return game with, new special teams coaching with Colt Anderson and Jaquan Jackson has looked good in the return game so far. Could we actually see the Titans get a return touchdown this year? It's been a long time.
It's possible. I think anything's possible.
I'd put
anything is possible.
I'd put a Blackstone breakfast on it. That's what I would do. Hey, sunny side up eggs, let me know. I'll put some breakfast on that one.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. We'll get the Blackstone going.
Yeah.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. One segment to go. We will make our picks coming up next. Titans, Vols, and we'll get a little wild card back in there. Didn't have one last week.
Okay.
We'll get the wild card back in. Do tune in to 93.3 Totally Hits, Totally Nashville today for MTSU football. The Blue Raiders will be on the road and taking on Ole Miss. Pregame starts at 1:45, kickoff at 3:15. Coverage also available on the 93.3 FM Totally Hits, Totally Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Making our picks when we come back here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason at Twin Peaks and Cool Springs tomorrow from 9:30 to 11:30 for the pregame show. They'll break down the Titans' Week 1 road matchup against the Bears and give you the latest updates before the game. The pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. Also want to let you know that this week's Nashville's Best Deal is from River Queen Voyages. River Queen Voyages is the most fun and unique way to see the downtown skyline from the water. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to River Queen Voyages while supplies last. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman here on 4's Company. We are going to make our picks to wrap up the show here. We're going to do 2 local ones, and I'm bringing the wild card back. We didn't have one last week. Usually I do a little bit of a victory lap when I have a good week. Last week was an awful week for me.
Yikes.
I went LSU. Me and Jake Wallman said LSU big, and that didn't work. And then I went Ravens and Packers. So rough week for Jake Lyman in the pick segment. Good thing we don't keep track of this.
No.
So
I believe I did say Eagles and Chiefs.
I think you did.
Yeah.
I think we were split on Ravens Chiefs. I was the only one who picked the Packers.
Yeah.
Which looked good for a minute there.
And that's why I don't trust Jordan Love.
I think Connor was the only one who took USC as well.
Yes, I think he was.
Lone
he went
wolf,
fight
right?
on. Tough. So yes, bad week for me. Let's hope we can bounce back. Let's start with the game today. Tennessee, NC State in Charlotte. Jake Wallman, I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one, but go ahead.
Boys, there's a little thing called BVS. It's called battered vowel syndrome.
Okay.
I've got it bad. I think there may be a couple of other people out there that have it bad as well. And I was listening to a reaction show last week after the win over Chattanooga, and they were quick to dispatch the BVS idea. It's gone. Boys, it's hitting a little hard this morning, and I think that after thinking about it, I'm taking Tennessee, but I think I may walk back. I gave a score prediction yesterday on Twitter, 38-24. I think it's going to be close, but I think Tennessee pulls away in the second half.
Ooh. I'm in the same boat. Not as nervous as you are. I'm more confident in this. I think Grayson McCall, phenomenal quarterback to his own respect, but Tennessee's defense is about to maybe get one or two picks on this guy. Offense with Nico's about to just open up the floodgates. This honestly might be a 41-21 type game for me.
Well, and my nervousness comes from, you guys mentioned it at the top of the show, that this is the type of game you need to win if you want to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
and
a loss here would mean that you'd probably have to go
out.
7-1 in the SEC to have a chance.
Yeah.
Which is not easy to do.
No
matter who you are.
It's not easy. So, and a loss here doesn't make me question if Josh Heupel's the guy, but it would just, it would be one of those games where you're just really kicking yourself, because this is a game I feel like Tennessee can win really easy.
Don't worry, Josh Heupel's a guy.
I think he is. I think he is, but
I'm not a Tennessee fan, but I love Josh Heupel and his offense.
We'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tennessee too. I don't think NC State's nearly as good as they have been in years past. Like two or 3 years ago, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee probably takes this one by 2 touchdowns, maybe more.
Yeah.
If I had to get, I'd go like 42-24. That'd be my guess for Tennessee in this one. I think SEC play is going to be tough. We mentioned the Oklahoma game. Florida, even though they're not very good, that's always a trap game for Tennessee. And then obviously Alabama and other games like that. But I feel good about this one for Tennessee today. I think they get to 2-0.
Yeah.
Titans Bears tomorrow, noon in Chicago. Week 1. Where are we going?
I'm going with the Titans. And I'm going to the Titans as in they score more than 25 points. How about that, gentlemen? I think I think they score on the midday show. Willie has this thing where this team, they don't score enough points where they're 21-8. He basically goes off age. They're not old enough to vote like in years past. They only average 18 points or whatever. Not old enough to get into bars. I think they're old enough to get into bars without even an ID to reference. They're scoring 25-something points in tomorrow's game. I say a score prediction of 27 to 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nail biter.
Close one.
High scoring, but nail biter.
Jake Wallman, where are you going?
I'm feeling Titans as well. You look at it and just to talk about, what Denard Wilson's going to bring and the new look offense has me feeling some sort of confidence that I've not felt in probably 2 years with this team. 2 years ago you had Derrick Henry.
Right.
You had some weapons, not a lot of weapons, as in like the 21 team did and stuff. So you have weapons that this team didn't have. And I'm just not buying the fact that, all the pundits have said that this team's going to be worse. So, I just don't buy that this team is going to look worse than last year. It would be really hard to do that. So I'm going to say the Titans win 31-27.
High scoring, getting to 30 for the first time in 2 years?
Yeah.
Well, they did score 30 against New Orleans, wasn't it?
I don't know if that counts though. It's preseason.
Does not
it's
count.
preseason. I'm with you, Jake. Like anybody who says that this Titans team is going to be worse than last year, I don't get it. The upgrades that they've made pretty much across the board, the only way that they are worse is if Will Levis is just awful this year or gets hurt. The only way I can see them losing less than 6 games, which they won last year, is if Levis just takes a complete step back or, gets hurt tomorrow or in week 2. I have a good feeling about tomorrow's game. I'm usually wrong, as we just went through with last week's picks. I'm going to say that they win. I'll give you a score. I will go 24-13 Titans win. I think it'll be lower scoring.
Okay.
I think they get Williams a couple of times for maybe a pick in the first half, a late pick as he's trying to get them back into the game, and the Titans win. I'll go 24-13. I think Titans win handily, but not in a blowout.
Right. I understand that. Yeah.
So we're all on the Titans, which means congratulations, Chicago. The Bears are 1-0.
Maybe Connor has Chicago.
Yeah. No. He gave us his pick. He said Titans, didn't he?
I think he did say Titans.
Yeah. So we're all on the Titans. Oof.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Nashville. Wrap it up. We will do our wild card here. Where are we going? Go. You got the world is your oyster. You got college football. You got NFL. You got baseball. Where are we going?
I feel like
Go
Nick,
ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like Nick has some like rugby up his sleeve.
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
true. Are we going NRL?
No NRL. Now that the season's kind of coming to a close in the NRL, it's October is when the grand final is. So I'm going to hold off on NRL until February and March of next year. So I'm just not going to do that for right now.
Okay.
As for myself, I'm going to go probably college football. This is tough. I'm going to go Syracuse, Georgia Tech.
Ooh.
Kyle McCord.
You're going with the orange.
I might be going with the orange today. I might be. It just all depends. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm going with the orange.
Orange.
I'm taking the upset.
Wow. Orange going for Nick Frazier.
Yes.
Georgia Tech off to a great start to the year. You got them losing their first game. I am going to go with our game of the day, which is coming up in 5 minutes or so. I think Texas puts it on Michigan today in the Big House. I'm usually not for picking against a team like Michigan at home, but they didn't look good last week. Texas seems to be one of the best teams in the country. I think Texas wins. I will hold back and say just by double digits. We'll say double digits for Texas.
I was thinking about picking that game, but I'm going to go with Iowa State, Iowa, the Battle of the Cy-Hawk Trophy. And this is a game each year that I really want to see Iowa State win, just because I feel like they always have it in their grasp, and Iowa does something in the game that, pulls them away, or Iowa just blows them outright. And, Iowa actually had 3 receiving touchdowns last week for the first time since I think like 2022 or 2021. Yeah. So I think Iowa State gives them a run for their money today, but I think Iowa wins late.
Well, they have that quarterback from Michigan that transferred over to
Yes, he's
Iowa.
still there. Katie McNamara. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know he transferred.
Yeah. So, I mean, McNamara, solid quarterback. Iowa.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, he is still there. Yep.
You can't go against Kirk Ferentz.
So you want the Cyclones today, huh?
No, that would be Iowa State.
I thought you said Iowa State's going to win.
No, Iowa.
He said he'll keep it close. Going with the Hawkeyes, though.
Iowa keeps it close, but I think Iowa wins out in the end.
Love it.
Awesome. So we all went college football. No NFL picks there for us with a full week 1 slate tomorrow. Lots of great stuff coming up on the game and on the fan over the next couple of days. Also, Totally Hits Totally Nashville. You got MTSU football coming up at 1:45 over there on 93.3.
Our very own Big Joe Dubin.
Yeah, Big Joe and Chip Walters will have the call over there. Then on 94.9, you can hear that Iowa State-Iowa game.
Yeah. End of the day.
Starting at 2 o'clock over on 94.9 The Fan.
We got a lot going on.
And then, of course, Vanderbilt football, 5 p.m. pregame over from First Bank Stadium. I'll say it again. I will be over there. I'll be in the radio booth, but I want to see a good black and gold crowd out there. For anybody listening.
Signing autographs.
No one wants that.
Work on your wave from the press box.
That's true. I'll be giving the princess wave out of the press box window if anybody comes out there, mention 4's Company, you get nothing. So 5 o'clock pregame, 6:30 kick over there on West End. And again, you can hear all of that here on the game. And then tomorrow, pregame show at 9:30 with Jared, Derek, and Chris Sanders. And then we've got a couple of NFL games on schedule as well. I think Cowboys-Browns is on the game, and then Broncos-Seahawks over on the Fan. So no shortage of football to listen on the Game Sports Network here.
Real quick question, talking about that Vandy Senior Day game tomorrow with MTSU. Do you guys have a little unspoken bet going? I
don't know.
I mentioned a Blackstone breakfast. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
We can do that. Yeah.
Regardless if I win or lose. I mean, you just have to cook it on my Blackstone.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I'll come over ready to chef something up.
5:30 in the morning.
Yes. That's true. That is when you wake up.
Yes.
Big thanks to head coach Darren Ambrose of Vanderbilt Soccer for stopping by in the 10 o'clock hour. Big thanks to Connor Newt for coming in for Newt's Notes despite being on the road to Oxford, Mississippi.
Boom, boom, baby.
Boomer Doom. I love that you've been getting that on all of your social
It's all over
media
my
now.
feed, man. I can't. I'm like trying to escape it. I just can't.
For Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman, I'm Jake Lyman. We are signing off here on 4's Company. Hope you enjoy a great football weekend. It's officially full-on football season. We're here. We'll be back next week, Saturday, 9 to 11, and we'll recap week 1 for the Titans. Get ready for another weekend of college and NFL football. 4's Company here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
See you.